So today I have a call with a gentleman from Costa Rica. He has some questions about how he should structure his business and how to operate. Apparently, he might be a U.S. citizen as well. So let's get to it. But before we get there, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps a lot for the algorithm. If you like, more people get to see the videos, so we can help more people. So let's get to it. Thanks.
Haven't done my taxes, I'm too turned up. Haven't done my taxes, I'm too turned up.
Awesome. So you're calling from Costa Rica, right?
I am, yes.
Perfect. So normally how we do the calls is you can just tell me a little bit about your situation, your scenario, your questions, your business, just so I can get an idea about what's going on, and then we can get into whatever questions you have.
No, fantastic. Well, I was very excited when I saw your video about using a Florida LLC owned by a foreign corporation to be able to do business in the U.S. without paying any taxes. Now, I am currently a U.S. citizen, but I do plan on renouncing my citizenship in the next few years. So I wanted to get everything set up properly now as my business is starting to expand so that I can pay zero taxes both before and after I renounce. So my idea, based on my research and watching your videos, was to create an LLC in Florida that is owned by my foreign corporation so that I can eventually avoid the 30% withholding from Amazon for royalty payments on my books and affiliate income after I'm no longer a U.S. citizen.
Got a lot of moving parts here.
Yes.
So I understand that you understand that now that you're a citizen, you can't do any of this stuff, so it doesn't really work. You get that,
Yes.
right? Okay, so that's why you're considering expatriation. So I guess I want to touch on it on one thing at a time. So with expatriation, I've done a number of those. There's an exit tax if you're a citizen, and if you have assets over like what 700,000 or something, fair market value of your assets, then you might have to pay an exit tax. Otherwise, you're covered under the exemption.
Okay, sure.
So that's the first thing. I would probably wait to open the foreign corporation. I would consider using an LLC now and then just transferring it to a foreign corporation when you expatriate.
That's very interesting. So how is that process? If I were to create an LLC in Florida now and connect everything to Amazon and other companies like that to that LLC, have it owned by myself, then once I expatriate, have it transferred to the ownership of the foreign corporation, that would be pretty.
Well, you mentioned something else too, that you're selling books and you're getting royalties.
Yes.
As a foreign person, Amazon is going to withhold 30% of royalty payments. And I know that I have clients who sell books on Amazon, and Amazon takes 30% of the gross proceeds for non-residents who receive royalties from Amazon.
Yes. From my research, and it may not be 100% accurate, but from what I'm telling is what I've discovered is that if you connect your relationship with Amazon to a U.S. corporation or U.S. business, then they treat you as a U.S. person, and they don't.
Well, it would have to be a U.S. corporation, not an LLC. It would have to be an actual corporation. Yes.
Not an LLC?
Well, an LLC is disregarded for tax purposes. So technically, if you complete a W-9 with an LLC, it's incorrect because you're not a U.S. taxpayer. And that's what it comes down to. A corporation is a U.S. taxpayer. An LLC, it flows to you. So to do it correctly, you would have to, you'd be telling Amazon that you're a foreign person and the LLC is disregarded. So that's what I've done for my clients, is opened corporations for them and found ways moving money around to still have a similar result of not necessarily paying any taxes in the U.S.
Okay, that's interesting to know.
Basically, they have the corporation just to receive the royalties, and then they send the money to an LLC for like service fees or for expenses. And while technically it might be like, technically it might be the IRS might frown on that, and the IRS might like challenge it or whatever. It's, for most of my clients, it hasn't been a material thing where it's been like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars of royalties. So it's not something that would get challenged, and practically it wouldn't get challenged. So, I mean, I'm not saying that, I'm not taking a hard position that this is the way to do it. I'm just saying that's the way around it. And I've advised people that that is a way around the royalty withholding.
Okay, that's fantastic to know because I mean the whole goal is to avoid the 30% because that's really annoying.
Yeah.
So now I'm more familiar with LLCs, although the businesses that I've owned in the past have all been LLCs just because it's been easier. What are the different kind of corporations and that would be viable to use with Amazon for some of this?
I mean, there's only a corporation is a corporation. It's just an LLC that pays its own taxes and files different forms. It's just separate from you. The LLC, you always report the results in your personal tax return. A corporation files its own tax return.
I see. Okay.
And there's a lot of nuances and different rules to it, and as so far as like how you interact with the company, you need to be much more formal and treat it as a separate company. A lot of for example, if the corporation makes a bunch of money and you just spend it on whatever you want, those would be commingling of funds, and those would be deemed dividends, and that should be income to you and things like that.
Okay. So if I were to with the idea that I'm going to use this approach, instead of an LLC, form a corporation, I would probably be best to wait until I'm closer to renouncing and expatriating before I do that. In the meantime,
I understand. Yeah, I mean, I would wait to open a foreign corporation for sure. And if you're going to Costa Rica, I wouldn't necessarily open a Costa Rica corporation. They're pretty complicated, and they do a lot of withholding there too. I would go to a different country. Like we use Belize a lot. Panama is great, but you may not need it. You could just open an LLC and a separate corporation and have transactions between them, and just use your corporation to receive funds. So there's a lot of different little ways you can do it, but I'm trying to think. But you wouldn't like for example, for Amazon, if you're receiving royalties now, they know you're a U.S. person. If you just expatriate and don't tell Amazon, they're not going to start. They're not going to know, and they're not going to magically start withholding taxes. So if you'd rather just like be sneaky with Amazon instead of open a whole new company and do that, I mean, you could do that and they wouldn't know otherwise.
What my understanding with Amazon is that they send paperwork to my earnings essentially to the IRS every year. So what happens if I've got a relationship like that I've got set up now as a U.S. citizen after I renounce and they continue to send W-9s or something like that or 1099s to the IRS, but I'm no longer a U.S. citizen? How does that happen?
So I've seen that before. Basically, the payment processors send out 1099-Ks showing how much payments they processed, and that you wouldn't file a personal tax return. You file the Form 5472 if you do it in the name of an LLC, or if the IRS sends you a letter or audits you or something, then it's you have to just show them that it's not effectively connected income, and your income was all earned outside the U.S. and you had nothing connected to the U.S. Again, I've seen IRS notices for sometimes for that, and I've gotten past it without a problem, because I have some clients that use companies just for payment processors, and then they just receive the money and send it out right away, and the IRS says, why didn't you pay any taxes on this? And just say, look, it's just for processing payments. There's no business here.
Okay. That's a lot of information to absorb all at once.
Well, the video will be on YouTube, so you can watch it again.
Awesome. Well, I mean, right now I'm living full-time in Costa Rica. I've been here for almost 4 years now. I do have a corporation in Belize right now that's active that I'm primarily using for some web development work that I do that's outside of my.
Do you own it 100% yourself?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you have to report it every year on Form 5471.
Yeah, 5471 I file, and then I use 2555 in order to get my taxes down to zero because I'm below the threshold.
Oh, that's how you're doing it. You're paying yourself a salary from that company. Okay, yeah, that's smart, yeah.
So that's been working, but the last little piece is once I finally renounce, it's getting that 30% withholding not to happen.
it's interesting how you're doing it now. So how are you paying tax on the royalty income now? You have to report it, right?
I do. I do that as with the Amazon income. I just do a Schedule C, and it's so low that it doesn't make a difference.
Okay.
But I'm expanding, and I'm hoping to get everything. I've got 7 new books I'm publishing in the next several years, so I want to try to get my ducks in a row with business structure in order to be prepared for a higher volume of income without paying tax.
Where do you live in Costa Rica?
On Jaco.
Jaco, okay, it's a popular place.
Yep. A lot of gringos here.
Yeah, I'm sure, right? It's more and more every day, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, until they shut the country down for the COVID.
Only the true guys are still there, right? Still living on the beach.
Yep, yep.
Okay. Yeah, so it's a little tricky. It's a little nuanced. There's not, I guess the right answer isn't the popular answer where maybe you have your royalties withheld. It's tough because I guess they are technically royalties. I mean, they're selling a book on your behalf, and they still consider it royalties. So, yeah, I mean, there's nothing really you can do there other than just either open a corporation in the U.S. or, leave your status as it is. I have a question. Did you set up this whole structure yourself, or did you work with an accountant or somebody?
I work with a company out of Belize that I set up the Belize Corporation.
Okay, and then do you file your taxes yourself every year?
I do file them. I had an accountant do it the first year because it was complicated, but now I just do it myself every year now.
And you mail it in? You do it in PDF forms and mail it in and everything?
I do. I have my mother print it and mail it from the States.
Awesome. Good for you. I had someone reach out to me the other day with the questions like, who does the Form 5471 by herself? And it's like, it's a mess. The form stuff. I guess the idea is your police company breaks even at 0 every year, right?
Yes. Yeah. I think I do like a $1 profit or $1, profit or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, good for you. It's not, I wouldn't recommend it, but if you can do it right and you're doing it, good for you.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm gonna watch this video again and wrap my brain around everything. Yeah. If I decide to move forward with a U.S. corporation, what is entailed in that process? What kind of paperwork do you need? How much does that cost?
Yeah, we have a really a comprehensive process that we do for our clients, and it's more than just registering the company, and it's really work with me to get the company open and operate it the right way, and I answer all your questions and work with you. So it's more than just registering a company, which I'm sure you could do. And that process right now is $2,500. Okay. So it's that's that process, and whether it's a corporation or LLC, we just keep it the same. And yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. I think that's probably the more legitimate way to do it. And it might be useful to have a U.S. corporation open every year. It's not that hard to file a U.S. Corporate tax return, especially if you're filing forms 5472 on your own. You should be able to file that one too.
All right. Is there what annual filing requirements or fees would there be with the U.S. corporation?
Well, this is something you should rewatch. So if you're a foreign person owning a U.S. corporation, you have to do the forms 5472 for the foreign corporation, and then also for the LLC that you have. And it could get a little tricky now. That I guess you'd have to do it for the LLC, and then the corporation. It would be a form that would be attached to the corporate tax return, just to report transactions between yourself and the corporation. It's very similar to the 5471 and like the objective and the complexity, and the penalties are the same too. So it's very similar, but that's something that you would have to do. It'd be the form, like obviously you have to renew it with the state. And then you have the form 1120 is the corporate tax return. The form, you don't have a 1040 anymore when you're non-resident. So you just have the 1120 for the corporation. And attached to the corporate return would be a form 5472, assuming you had transactions with the corporation. And then if the corporation had transactions with your LLC, there'd be an additional form 5472 for that to report those, and that would be a blank form. And then you have to file a separate standalone form 5472 for your other LLC, and that's attached to a pro forma form 1120. And that does not have a tax calculation to it. Only the U.S. corporation has a actual tax calculation. But if you, again, just like you're doing in Belize, if you move your money out of it before the end of the year, there'll be no income to pay tax on.
Ah, okay, that's fantastic. All right. Is there to do that legitimately? Is there a specific way that I need to move the money outside of the country? Or
Yeah, you need to have a reason, like a purpose for making payments. You need to. It can't just be money to you like a dividend. It would have to be like paying yourself for management fees or professional fees or not royalties. You can't pay yourself royalties or dividends or anything like that because there's required withholding from your U.S. Corp. I would recommend just paying your LLC and setting up like a management agreement, something like that. We can help with that, but it's like a management, some kind of contract supporting what you're doing. And as long as you file the forms on time and everything's organized and you document your stuff to the best of your ability, you should be fine without any issues. And from what I'm hearing, the numbers are going to be below, generally what returns get audited. You're not going to be doing like $1 million worth of stuff in a year. Maybe I'm wrong, but
no. I mean, that'd be great, but no, I'm not even anywhere close to that right now.
Yeah, okay. I mean, you can go for it, but then by the time you get there, you'll have more money to hire a full-time tax advisor. So
Yeah.
but for
Okay.
but for now, that's what you got to do.
All right. Well, fantastic. Boy, well, that's all the questions I had.
I talk pretty fast.
Yeah. Is there anything that you can think that any additional tidbits that you think for my situation?
Not really. I mean, I kind of understand what you're doing. It's just that the classic digital nomad. So, if you're gonna expatriate, I guess you become a citizen somewhere else first.
Yeah. Yeah. In Costa Rica in a few years.
Okay, yeah, if that's the plan, you want to live in Costa Rica, then do that. It might be, so if you expatriate, it might be tough to get a visa to come back to the U.S.
Yeah, I realize that. It's annoying, but for the 3 or 4 times the rest of my life, I might come back for a short period.
Yeah, I guess, right, you have people visit you. Yeah, I mean, but if you probably, from what it sounds like, you're not paying much tax now as a citizen, right?
No, I'm not. I haven't paid tax the last few years legally as a citizen. So, but no, my renouncing is not entirely based on tax.
You're the first person I've talked to that ever has said, I want to renounce my citizenship, and it's not really for tax purposes, because when you renounce it, you have to certify that it is not for tax purposes.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk for hours about. I mean, I love what America used to be. I've got a Revolutionary War flag on my wall, but the country's become is no longer what I love, and even long before I was born. But so for principal reasons, I left. And
okay, well,
taxes are part of it, but not all.
Yeah,
of it.
I mean, renouncing the citizenship's a big decision. There's a lot of power to the U.S. passport and a lot of benefits to having it, which I'm sure you've contemplated. And it's cool that you're actually the first person, literally the first person I've talked to that's not renouncing for tax reasons. Even though when you renounce, you have to certify it's not for tax reasons, but it's almost always is.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. If I have more questions, can I shoot you an email and set up for the future calls?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, shoot me an email. How's your Spanish? How long have you been in Costa Rica?
I've been almost 4 years. It's pretty good. I mean, there's still a lot of vocabulary I don't know, but I get by pretty good.
I did in 2016. I did 2 months in Playa Samara in Costa Rica to help get better at Spanish. It was cool.
Okay.
Cool experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Costa Rica. It was nice.
Beautiful country. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you so much. You have a wonderful day there.
Great. You too, Benjamin. Thanks for your time. Good luck.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, so that call was great. Benjamin is doing some interesting things, and you know, I hope that call was really helpful for you, especially if you're considering expatriating or if you're a U.S. citizen living abroad and working digitally. What he's doing is great. He has a foreign corporation that's paying him a salary, so he can exclude it from his income via the foreign earned income exclusion, which is something we didn't go into in detail because he's already doing it, but it's something that's pretty awesome, and a lot of people aren't doing and get burned because they're not doing it. So if you thought this was helpful, please like the video. Again, it's very helpful to like the video and subscribe and comment if you have any questions about it. And if you want to have a call with me, if you're interested in asking me some questions, there should be a link in the description below that you can schedule a call and you can be my next guest on YouTube. So thanks again. Until the next time.